Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is an interesting example of a video game. There's a lot to talk about in terms of the gameplay, world, story and other aspects of the title, but the most noteworthy thing about this game is that it was a pretty major commercial flop. Being a commercial failure doesn't necessarily mean a video game is bad, but I've always found it interesting when you come across a game where the sales are low despite what it may have going for it. I'm currently enjoying my second playthrough of Deadfire, so I thought I'd try and break down why the game never reached the heights it could have done. Some games fail because the critical reception and word of mouth puts potential buyers from spending their money on a subpar game, but this doesn't appear to be the case with PoE 2. The critic reviews have pretty high scores across the board, review aggregate sites like Metacritic should be taken with a pinch of salt, but we can reliably say that the game got consistently high scores. Steam reviews are sitting at 87% positive at the time of making this video, GOG showing a 4.1 star rating, and Green Man Gaming has a rating of 9.6 out of 10. It's not like the game hasn't got its faults, but the feedback is nowhere near bad enough to dissuade any significant number of potential buyers from purchasing Deadfire. In doing my research for this video, I came across the point that people consider RPGs of this type to be a bit of a niche market. And whilst I wouldn't expect them to hit the kind of sales figures that AAA games can reach, there's hardly a lack of demand for party-based RPGs. This year we've got Baldur's Gate 3 coming out and Dragon Age Dreadwolf to follow in 2024. Pathfinder Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous are both pretty popular recent titles. There's also the Shadowrun series, Neverwinter Nights, Wasteland, Tyranny, also an Obsidian Entertainment product, amongst others. So if the lack of demand isn't the issue, maybe the opposite's true. It's difficult to mention Pillars of Eternity 2 in this kind of context without also mentioning another title, Divinity Original Sin 2. This game was a runaway success when it launched, selling over 1 million copies on Steam by the end of November 2017, with a September launch date in the same year. It would be difficult to quantify this, but a lot of would-be buyers for Deadfire may have had it scratched by DOS 2. Although Pillars wouldn't launch until May of 2018, the sheer amount of hours you can put into DOS 2 could end up spreading the game out over a long period of time for the busy adult gamer. That's also just looking at the players who picked up the game on launch, as by the time Deadfire hit the market at launch price, anyone who was looking for a cRPG title could have picked up Divinity Original Sin 2 on a Steam sale around Christmas or in the early part of 2018. The nature of cRPGs is that they tend to have low completion rates compared to other games, as gamers struggle to find the time to reach the end of the main story before getting burnt out. So why pick up another similar title when you picked up one not too long ago you're still part way through completing? We can further evidence this by looking at the previous game in the Pillars of Eternity series. Although generally well received in review terms, according to the Steam achievements, less than 15% of players actually completed it. AAA games have big marketing budgets and flashy adverts. Sequels to classic franchises can rely on the names of their predecessors. Other games have to rely on word of mouth to get the hype going. Deadfire is known for featuring voice actors from the cast of Critical Role, the famous Dungeons & Dragons livestream that's currently on its third campaign and has just had their first campaign reimagined as the animated series The Legend of Vox Machina. On the run-up to the launch, Critical Role used the stream to help advertise the game and the fact that all the main voice actors would be featuring.
We have another sponsor tonight. We've talked about them a little bit in the past, and we're super excited to bring Pillars of Eternity 2. Deadfire is also sponsoring our show tonight. Once again, from the Great Pillars of Eternity series, I was in the first one, and all of us are in this one. Comes out very soon. And this one, May 8th, very soon. But this one, it's in the same world, and Aora. It's a really fantastic kind of isometric RPG in the classic style of Baldur's Gate. Graphics are beautiful, music's incredible. You've heard it, the first game's music all through most of Critical Role's run so far. But it's a great story. Those who finished the first game, it deals with the god Aothis, who is now terrorizing this area called the Deadfire. It's very like pirate ships and oceanic island travel, and it's pretty badass. And you get to hear all of us in it. And you also get to customize Vox Machina in it.
The Critical Role stream had a pretty major fan base by Campaign 2, and the videos from this time period have several million views on YouTube. Although I can't accurately say how many of these are rewatches, or people getting into watching the older campaigns later down the line. However, despite Critical Role having a big fan base, An interest in Dungeons & Dragons doesn't necessarily translate to an interest in cRPGs, and dropping £30 on a new game that takes many hours to complete is a different kind of commitment to watching a free live stream in your own time. The brutal honesty is that, for those of you watching this video, most will either be existing channel subscribers, came across this video as an algorithm suggestion, or knew about Deadfire already and were looking to watch some content, possibly about this exact topic. I only ended up picking up this title on a sale in 2020 because I realised there was a sale on and decided to peruse through the RPGs, stumbling across Pillars of Eternity 2 on a heavy discount. I later realised it was a Critical Role tie-in after recognising some of the actors' voices in the game. If I'd heard about Deadfire earlier, or due to marketing or word of mouth, I probably would have picked it up on launch, but what happened to me most likely happened to a number of other would-be buyers. I think the easiest way to summarise Deadfire's failure is that it was a victim of circumstance. Despite its merits, the game simply fell by the wayside and many missed out on a title they may well have enjoyed. Deadfire couldn't rely on the hype from its predecessor, as so many didn't finish the first game, so they wouldn't bother trying out sinking a number of hours into the sequel. The Critical Role tie-in was a sensible marketing move, but they needed more marketing that specifically targeted PC gamers. For those that did hear about the game on its launch and may have been interested, it's likely that they'd already tried Divinity Original Sin 2, or were caught in a choice between both games, when the former would regularly appear on Steam sales. If the game had released at a different time with the appropriate word of mouth, it could have been a much different story. But due to the unfortunate circumstances, Deadfire became a video game case study rather than a successful title. Although the Pillars series is effectively on hold, Obsidian do have an upcoming release set in the same universe in the form of Avowed, a first-person RPG that we currently know very little about. Although since we know currently virtually nothing about The Elder Scrolls 6, a well-made story-driven first-person RPG has a lot of potential if it releases at the right time. Here's hoping Avowed has more commercial success than Deadfire did. So that's my summary of the Pillars of Eternity 2 situation. Thanks a lot everyone for watching. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.